We're in Spanish Springs in the Villages, and this is one of the biggest car shows they have every year. I think it's called the Cruise In, but I may get whacked for not having the right name, but all kinds of interesting stuff here. So no big surprise, but this is one of my favorite cars. I just talked to the owner. This is a replica. He bought it in like the mid-80s and took a whole bunch of years to do it. The kit was like $7 grand. And this is a crate motor with 1600 cc's, about 90 horsepower. And there it is. It's just a complete, they don't make these kits anymore, so. And the dashboard. This guy's going to have this in the Porsche car show come February. Or perhaps your tastes go more toward Detroit Iron. The 56 Thunderbird. And this ain't no replica. At least I don't think it is. Oh, somebody's having a bad day. So believe it or not, this is a 1928 Hudson. Of course, it's been changed. If I remember the guy over there on the right, it's his. He put a 327 in there from an old vet. And it's got nitrous, but the nitrous isn't hooked up. I said it's probably for intimidation purposes only. And while you're browsing cars, here's music. This show goes on endlessly. There's probably 150, 200 cars here, scattered around several city blocks. All right, this is a familiar sight across the United States in one of these. 57 Chevy. And the back seat has gobs and gobs of room. Of course, this is the two-door. We had the four-door. Ah, the poodle dress. How appropriate. The trunks on these things are ginormous. My mom's dad had one of these, and there was some talk that he was going to pass it down to his grandchildren, but I love the grill on these. It's one of my favorite grills. Bonneville, Pontiac, 63. So it's got a trunk the size of an Olympic swimming pool. And it's one city block long. Gotta love it. This used to be a 1950 Ford, but it got chopped up in little pieces and shrunk. And they put a Cadillac engine into it. Or at least that's what the valve covers say. Like I said, I like the Pontiac grills. Works of post-industrial art. Or, no, industrial art. Not post. This is from the industrial era of America. Look, somebody in the family got into racing suspensions. No, it wasn't me. And here's an interesting genre of cars. The exterior looks like a beater, but you notice they got super low-profile tires. And then they've got, you know, a reasonably souped-up engine. So it's supposed to be a kind of a sleeper. I forget what they call this. I'll remember at some point. Rust on rust. A lot of rust on this. People probably think it's not done yet, but I think it is. 1929 Model A. Ooh, it's got a nice trunk on the back here. All right, here's something that modern car owners have no appreciation of whatsoever. Trying to start a carbureted car and then flooding it. All right.
Looks like your chokes are halfway closed.
And they say don't go like they used to. Thank God.
Hey, it's half the fun is being able to figure out how to start one of these things when nobody else can. Okay, fuss with the carburetor. Been there, done that. Many times. And since this isn't smell-o-vision, there's probably a lethal flammable cloud of gasoline and air right around here.
So that really got to be flooded.
Is that open?
And to give it another shot here. It hasn't even coughed, so that's not a good sign. A little drama here.
It's got fuel, but it's not.
Oh, gobs of fuel, yeah.
Probably flooded.
All right, this is kind of interesting and unusual. This is a setup. It's a four carb setup on a 30 Ford, and they made the air cleaners out of what looks like pistons. And then you throw in some LEDs, and it's total Halloween equipment here. All right, here's the 57 Bel Air, and this one's perilously close to like my grandmother's 57 Chevy that my brother had. I probably have a picture of it somewhere. This one's sort of, what's the color? It's kind of sherbet, sort of purple, light, with a white roof, and the four-door. Major flat across the U.S. in one of these. And I got the film to prove it. And everything looks a little orange because we're under these hideous sodium vapor lights. But this is my first car, sort of, in the same family. This is a 65 Falcon sedan coupe, two-door. And I had the 64 wagon, a total babe repulsant mobile. But everybody got to ride in it. And this one's got a big honking V8 in here, so. But it almost looks like the same color. I had a burgundy. It doesn't look burgundy here. This one is sort of burgundy. But a very familiar object. It may be a little hard to see what exactly this is, but if you're a car person, this is an E-type Jaguar, the famous, this is a 2+2, a 71 V12. Some say this is the most beautiful car in the world. And who would argue with that? It's all subjective anyway, but this is one classy set of wheels here. Check out that power plant. It's complexity times 100. Oh, it's got AC. That sort of gums up the works, but still. This may be one of the more expensive cars here. All right, here are the really old cars. This is a 1913 Model T. In all its glory. I'm losing the light, so luckily I got my low light camera. Nice piece of work. Patriotic, too. Wonder what happens when all the boiling water comes erupting out the top of the radiator cap there. And look, the original owner showed up for the show.
Right.
Yuck, yuck, yuck.
They use a little ring.
Another perfect night in Central Florida. Sky blue right down to the horizon, low humidity, and a pleasant low 70 kind of a night. Maybe it's in the upper 60s now, but who's counting? Because we know how much warmer it is here than other places. So that's it from Spanish Springs and the Villages Cruise In. This is like every other weekend they do stuff like this, but this is a big one. Good night, everybody.